Chris here, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to this week's reading vlog. So it is officially April 8th, which means it's time to kick off the second week of April. I have a lot of reading plans this week. I am trying to be very, very productive in my reading and choosing which books I am going to read. I've been doing a lot of sprinting on my channel, which I found is very helpful. I'm also hoping to catch up on a majority of my vlogs this week because I'm very, very backlogged, but I'm using sprints to get through my editing. Two books I will definitely be working on is the World Famous 9, which is a 5-star prediction, so you won't hear my thoughts in this video, and Race to the Sun, which I'm really, really enjoying, and I was reading for Mythology and Rick Riordan Presents because I got a double up reward. The other book that I need to get back to is Demon Copperhead, because I have the audiobook for this, and I'm on page 138, so I really would like to get back to it because I was enjoying it. Other than that, I don't know exactly what I'm going to read. Let me see here. I'm going to look at my TBR and see what I have left from my Phase 10 TBR, because that's probably going to be stuff I kind of focus on a little bit more. So I still have Orphan Train, Race to the Sun, but I'm already reading it, Wayward, Curiosity Killed the Cat Sitter, Twilight of the Elves, The Winners, Land of Cranes, and The World Famous 9. So I'm reading The World Famous 9. I have The Winners out on audiobook. The Land of Cranes is waiting for me at the library. I've heard really, really good things lately about Wayward, so I'm very excited to get to that. And I'm really excited that I have 8 books left on my TBR. 2 of which I'm in the midst of. I am smashing my Phase 10 TBR this month, which makes me very, very happy. My sprints have been very, very helpful when it comes to actually getting through the books on my TBR. I've been trying to read my physical books, the ones I don't have audiobooks for, because I tend to go to audiobooks because they're easier and they allow me to do other things and forget about how many books I have to physically read, and then they don't get read. So I'm trying to use my sprints to read my physical books so that I actually get through them in a somewhat timely manner. So it has been very productive on my sprinting page. I'm really, really enjoying being live. So hopefully that will continue this week and will help me get through a majority of the only 2 books I have left on that TBR that I would have to physically read are Orphan Train and the World Famous 9. Everything else I have an audiobook for. So I will probably be going off TBR a little bit because I want to get through the myriad of other books I have that I need to physically read, and there are a bunch as I'm looking at my greater TBR. So we'll see what I come up with this week, and hopefully I will manage to check in midweek because I haven't been doing great about that. But I'm going to make it a point to try to remember midway through the week to actually check in. So I'm hoping to be back with some books soon, and yeah, wish me luck. So it is now Friday, and I need to check in. Luckily, I'm doing sprints right now, and one of my viewers mentioned that they were going to be vlogging on the next sprint, and I was like, oh, right, I need to check in. So here I am, checking in. It's been an interesting week. I've been doing lots and lots of sprints, so if you're looking for sprints, you should check out my channel because I sprint 4 to 5 days a week now that I've got the new computer. Oh, I think we're going to have a different kind of helper. Are you going to be able to see him, though? You're not gonna let me lift you up. He's a buggy. We're also in the midst of some thunderstorms, so if you hear some thunder in the background, that's why. The rain is my ambiance. Oh, he did not like that. Anywho, I have actually read some stuff this week. The first book I finished is Race to the Sun, and I gave this 4 stars. This I was reading for Mythology and Rick Riordan Presents. This follows Nizhoni, and she has been able to detect monsters for most of her life. And one day she sees a monster who is showing up around her house. She tries to warn her dad. He does not believe her. And the next day he is taken by these monsters. He leaves Nizhoni a message that says run, and luckily Nizhoni's brother Mac does believe her, and this monster believes they're the legendary hero twins, she and her brother Mac. So with the help of her friend Davery, they set about trying to get to the bottom of what happened to her dad and what is going on, and kind of rescuing him. To do this, they must pass a series of trials, and we get to see them go on this adventure. I really enjoyed this. It's really fast paced. I love that Nizhoni had such a good friend in Davery who was like, I don't know anything about this stuff. Like, I don't see monsters, but I believe you. And was with no hesitation, like 100% on board and like, I'm going to help you. Let's go. Everybody needs a friend like Davery. I liked learning about the different bits of the native history because this is Navajo heritage. So these are Navajo mythologies and legends that we're hearing about. And I really, really enjoyed that. I'm a little bummed that it seems to be the only book that there is a short story in one of, like Rick Riordan has released a short story collection that features a lot of the different Rick Riordan Presents authors writing short stories for their work. So I will definitely be excited to read that when I get to that book. But I thought this was a really fast-paced, fun book, and I would love more if the author ever decided to write more in this world because I was very intrigued by it. Then I read Land of the Cranes, and I gave this 4.5 stars. I was reading this for another booktubers TBR, and this is a book that's kind of told in verse. It has kind of like these, I think they're called like picture poems type things, because we get drawings in them too, and there are these little, like, it's all told in verse like that, and we're following 9-year-old Betita, whose father ends up getting caught and deported back to Mexico. Like, she and her family aren't supposed to be in America, and then she and her mom get deported to, like, a camp, and while they're in this detention camp, she and her mom have to survive without being with her dad, and we get a really hard look at what life is like for these families who are trying to seek asylum in the United States, and the horrific treatment they get when they are caught here, and how just horrifically awful they're treated in these camps. And it was just heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking to see these things, to know that there are so many people who are coming here and trying to find a better life, to find a safer life, because Betita and her family are just trying to find safety, because we find out very early on that it's not safe where they were, and that's why they left in the first place, and they're just trying to be somewhere where they can be safe and build a life for themselves. And it is especially poignant given the state of the United States right now and all of the drama surrounding the southern border and the way people are treating people who could come across the border and acting like they're all criminals. And I don't want to act like that there aren't criminals who are trying to take advantage of the situation, because I'm sure there are. That's what criminals do. But 99% of the people who are coming across that border are just trying to find a better life and a safer life and prosperity for their family. And I hate that they're treated so horrifically. They're human beings, and we shouldn't treat other human beings like that. And this is just a very poignant story of the realities of the situation as told from this little girl's point of view. And my mind is blown at some of the treatment these people go through and what they will survive to find a better life. So I think this was an absolutely brilliant book. The reason it gets 4.5 stars and not 5 is because I struggled a little with the format, because it left me wanting more details, more. And it's really hard to sometimes give you that more in the format this was written. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good book and very timely that I read it now. So I'm actually really glad this is what I ended up with for another BookTubers TBR. Then the last book I finished is The World Famous 9. And I'm not going to tell you anything about this because it is a 5-star prediction, but I did want to mention that I finished it and that I had completed the first book of my next round of 5-star predictions. So that was also something I read this week. I did also have a DNF, so I DNF'd Curiosity Killed the Cat Sitter. I think I got like 107 pages in. So this is a cozy mystery, and we're following Dixie, who used to be a deputy with the sheriff's department, and something tragic happened. and she has now moved on to being a pet sitter, and she goes to take care of one of her clients one day and finds a man drowned in the water dish of the pet she is sitting for. And like the guy's head is taped to the bowl, and gets embroiled in this case of who is this dead man and what was he doing in this house where she was taking care of this pet. So the reason I DNF'd this is because I wasn't massively into it. Like, I wasn't really connecting with Dixie, but there was also some questionable, I don't want to say language per se, but like there was swearing, which, like, I don't have a problem with in normal books, but usually isn't something I see in my cozy mysteries. She mentions cat anuses twice in the part of the book I read, and literally in the first 5 pages. There is mentions of very early on in the book of like her nipples getting hard, and I believe I've seen the word crotch used like twice and referring to like a bulge in a crotch, and I'm like, I don't like that stuff. Like, I don't like spicy romances, and that is not something I expect in a cozy mystery. So like, I wasn't massively invested in the mystery of the characters to begin with, and then you get this language, and it's just not something I expect out of a cozy mystery, because the idea of a cozy mystery is they're supposed to be nice and deal with the murder, but in a very benign, like, a lot of the violence takes place off screen. They don't have swearing in them. They have romances that are bland. So anything like that doesn't happen. Like, that's what I'm looking for in a cozy mystery, and this was just not hitting the spot for me. So I made the choice to DNF because I just wasn't enjoying it. So yeah, it's a shame, but it also means I have book 4, which I can take off of my physical TBR because I will not be continuing on with the series, obviously. I've made a little bit more progress in Demon Copperhead. I'm now on page 167, I think. I think I updated this. I was listening to it during sprints. I still don't have much more to say because I only think I read like 20 pages, but I'm still intrigued with Demon Story. I really do need to get back to it, though. I was just trying to focus on books on like my actual phase 10 TBR, and like books that I only had the audiobook for a shorter time than that one. Another audiobook I started listening to is The Winners by Fredrik Backman. So this is the 3rd book in the Beartown series, and I'm on page 118, and I'm really, really enjoying this. So I can't really talk about the events of this one, but basically Beartown is a hockey town, and in the first book there is a giant event that happens that affects the entire town and the hockey team, and we see how everybody in the town deals with it. And the second book follows that one, and this one follows the second book, so I can't really say what's going on here, but it sucked me in very, very quickly. I'm not surprised given how Fredrik Backman writes and how much I really, really like his writing. So I definitely think I'm going to continue to fly through this one because it is a very, very intriguing read. And then I've read 4 pages of A Grave Robbery. I would grab it, but I have a Bugsy in the way, and I would have to kick him off my lap to grab the book. But I've only just started that. That's the next book in the Veronica Speedwell mystery series, and I'm very excited to see what Veronica and Stoker get up to in that one. So I have definitely made some decent progress in my books so far. So no complaints here. And yeah, I've mainly been reading on sprints. It's definitely made me focus a little bit more, and I've been trying to be cognizant of actually working on my TBR. So let me see, I can, now that I have a computer that does not sound like it's on its last legs, I can actually use my computer while I'm filming, because before you wouldn't have been able to hear me over the fan on my computer. So I'm currently, I have The Orphan Train for Mom Pick, Wayward for Published in Your Birth Month. Oh, I read that one. I just didn't mark it off. Twilight of the Owls for Low Expectations, and The Winners for longest book on my TBR. So it is April 12th, and I only have 4 books left on my Phase 10 TBR, one of which I'm in the midst of. Wayward, I can't listen to the audiobook until, I want to say the 19th, because of Everand and how they restrict books. So I won't be listening to that until next week, the end of next week. When is the 19th? Yeah. So next Friday, I will probably be looking at that. So, I mean, I physically read Orphan Train. I listen to The Winners and Twilight of the Elves in the next week, and I can have my entire TBR except for Wayward finished by next Friday, which would be amazing. So I'm pretty sure I'm smashing it. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get to have a reward on there, which would be great because it means that I could film my TBR early, which would be really, really nice and very different. So yeah, I've done a lot of editing. I'm getting caught up on vlogs. Like I said, I've been doing a lot of sprinting. I've been sprinting every day except Wednesday and Saturdays for the most part because I'm using those as days to recharge. So yeah, all in all, it's been a really, really good week and I'm very, very happy with my progress. So I will wrap this clip up here and I will check in with you at the end of the week to let you know what I finished. Monday, which means it's time to wrap this vlog up. The last few days haven't been my best reading wise, but I have read some stuff. So first, I'm going to mention that I read In Myrtle Peril and I gave this 4.5 stars. This is the 4th book in the Myrtle Hardcastle mystery series. In this one, Myrtle's dad has to go into the hospital for a procedure on his tonsils, so he can't speak. And when she goes to visit him with her governess, she quickly learns that he believes he's seen a murder. He writes murder on a piece of paper, and it sends Myrtle and her governess, Miss Judson, into investigating. Before this happens, though, he is hired to look into the background of the presumed missing Ethel Snowcraft. The last living Snowcraft has died, and they're looking for the heiress, and she supposedly went missing at sea many years ago, and this woman shows up claiming to be Ethel Snowcraft. So we've kind of got those two mysteries. Is this woman who is claiming to be Ethel Snowcraft actually Ethel? And did her dad really see a murder, or was it some kind of hallucination based on the medicine he was taking due to his, tonsillectomy? I really enjoyed this one. I loved the kind of two mysteries, and seeing her dad be really into the story. In the first few books, it's really Myrtle and Miss Judson who are doing a lot of the work. So I liked seeing her dad get involved and getting to see more of their relationship. I love Miss Judson and Myrtle and the relationship the two of them have, and also seeing the developments in Miss Judson's relationship with her father in this one, and how he almost kind of needs somebody to tell him that he needs to take care of himself. So that was interesting. I was invested from the word go. It was just missing that little thing that would make it 5 stars, but I really, really enjoyed this foray into the series, and I'm very much hoping that I can read the next one, because I think the 5th one is now out sooner rather than later. Then I've DNF'd 2 books. Cielo, you are not helpful. The first is Spirit Hunters, and this follows a young girl who has a little brother, an older sister, and lives with her parents. They've recently moved, supposedly, I believe, due to their dad's job, but we soon find out that something happened to our main character. What is her name? Harper. And she doesn't have any memory of it, but it's created a lot of issues with her family. Her little brother, Michael, is talking about this kid he can see named Kevin who used to live in the house, and it is making Harper very uneasy, and some spooky things start to happen surrounding this Kevin person, maybe? And I just was not into this. I didn't like not knowing what was going on with Harper, the way her family was treating her, because we don't have the information to really understand that. And I just was not invested. And I don't know, I got, I think a little over 100 pages in, and I walked away because I was reading this on sprints, and I walked away to make some food. And when I came back in, I was dreading having to pick it back up. And that told me that I really, really was not enjoying this. Hello, bugs. And so I made the decision to DNF it because it was just not clicking with me. And there was a thing that happened where I left off that just made me 100% sure this wasn't going to be the type of spooky book I liked. So I made a choice to DNF this. And then the other book I DNF'd is Demon Copperhead. This was another one I was reading on sprints. And I had picked it up because the audiobook was coming due and there was somebody waiting in line. So I wanted to listen to it before the audiobook went back. And after talking it over with my sprinters, it felt very much like this is more of a soft DNF. I may come back to this at some point because I wasn't disliking it, but I wasn't really enjoying it either. And I had set it down for like 4 days and I had no real desire to pick it back up. So again, it wasn't that I wasn't enjoying it because it wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't one that made me super invested to pick it up. So this is kind of like a soft DNF. I may get back to it at some point if it calls to me, but it's just not really what I want to be reading right now. And I've got so many other books I would like to read that after talking it over with my sprinters and kind of discussing where my head was at with it, I decided it was better to DNF it now because I think it's just going to bring down my rating if I try to force myself to read it, if that makes sense. So this is a soft DNF and we'll see if I ever come back to it, but it's also fine if I don't. And again, if you're looking into it, it's not a bad book. If it sounds interesting, I would highly recommend you pick it up because, again, I wasn't not enjoying it. It just, I don't know. It wasn't working for me the way I needed it to work for me right now, if that makes sense. So, yeah, not an awful book by any stretch of the imagination, just maybe not the right timing on this, and maybe I'll come back to it someday. I've also made some progress in some other books. So I only finished the one, I DNF'd 2, and then I made progress in 3 others. So first, I started Twilight of the Elves, and I'm on page 122. And I had to literally go back, find the vlog where I read the first one, and listen to myself talk about the first one to jog my memory as to what the first one was about. Because I started reading this going, I did read the first one, right? Because I had no recollection of the first one based on the beginning of this. So listening to my own very vague review is enough to, along with what I've read in here, kind of jog my memory. I'm liking this fine so far. It definitely feels like a 3-star, but we'll see. And I think if this is another one that gets in the 3-star range, even though I own the third one, I think I'll probably DNF the series because it's not one that is super compelling to me. I read the first one in 2022 and I haven't really thought about picking up the second one. The only reason I even picked this one up when I did is because I got a book that I had low expectations for, and this seemed like an obvious one considering I remember not super loving the first one. So we'll see how this goes. Maybe it can win me over and it will not have a second book slump. It'll have a second book surprise. So we'll see. I'm willing to give this one some more time. I started A Grave Robbery and I'm on page 38. This is the next book in the Veronica Speedball mystery series. And this is a historical fiction mystery series. And in this one, Veronica and Stoker end up working on what they think is a waxwork only to find out it's a real body. So now they're wondering, how did this body end up being sold as a waxwork? And who is this person and how did they come to be there? I'm only 38 pages in, but I am already invested and it's already really enjoyable to be back with Veronica and Stoker. I really, really love this series, so I'm hoping I can rip through this next week. And then the last book I've started is The Winners. So this is the third and final book in the Beartown trilogy. And I'm on page 174 and I'm really enjoying this. So this is a book that's set in a hockey town. And in the first book, there is some major drama that goes on with the hockey team in this town, lives and breathes hockey, and we get to see things from the dozens of people's points of view of the thing that's going on in book 1. And the second book was kind of a continuation of the fallout from the thing from book 1, and this is a continuation of the fallout from the thing from book 1, with other things mixed in, like, because life continues to go on. So we see their lives continue while also the ripples that have reverberated from the thing that happens in book one. And I'm just loving this. I forgot how much I love Frederick Bachman's writing, how real he makes his characters and how easy it is to get sucked into one of his books. So I am very, very much enjoying this one. So it was an interesting last couple days. I mean, I had 2 DNFs and I'm trying really hard to be better about that. I read a book I loved, and I'm in the midst of 3, 2 of which I'm really enjoying, and one of which I'm not loving per se, but I'm also not disliking, and it is more compelling to pick up than Demon Copperhead was, so we're not to the DNF stage yet. But that was my week. I also am caught up on vlogs. They're all on my channel except for this one right here. Well, the last one hasn't posted, but it's uploaded and ready to post. It'll post tomorrow. So I did my channel goal, which was to catch up on all my editing. So my sprints have been helping. I sprint right as of right now, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. The time I start sprinting varies. It depends on how my morning goes. But those are the days that I sprint. So if you'd like to stop by my channel and hop on some sprints, I would be more than willing to have you join in. But that's going to be all for this vlog. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me a skull and crossbone emojis in honor of a grave robbery. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!